Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Arsenal transfer show, our series in which we look at the players that have been linked to Arsenal every single day at 8 a.m. UK time on our Raw Reaction show, and get your guys' thoughts and feelings in the chat box and trying to make some sense of the chaos that's been going on around Arsenal's transfer mayhem. And we've got some interesting news for you today, some interesting stories, some new faces, some old faces, of course, too. And we're going to try and break it all down and get your thoughts and feelings too. Good morning in the chat box, everyone. Fantastic. Always see you in the chat box, joining every single day, making this part of your morning routine. Absolute legends. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in as always. No holiday for the transfer show. I'll be leaving for the Peak District immediately after today's show is finished, and there will be no more green screen for about 4 days. So you're going to have to get used to some boring backgrounds for a little bit, I'm afraid. But the morning show, I'm going to endeavour to try and get for you guys. That's the plan. What I should have done is I should have gone like ahead in terms of like where my destination was, ahead in terms of time, into a different time zone, so I could get up at, say, 10 o'clock and still do an 8 a.m. transfer show. That's what I should have done. But obviously travel restrictions are as such that you can't technically do that right now. Anyway, let's move on to the transfer news. And we start off with, interestingly, this isn't an Arsenal transfer, but it's something that I want to talk about very briefly. You may have seen yesterday that Mark Gay, who is a Chelsea centre-back, England youth international, has joined Crystal Palace for a deal around £18 million, according to The Athletic, which is an incredibly good deal for a player that has, as far as I'm aware, never played for the senior Chelsea side in a competitive fixture, not once. £18 million for this guy. And this is important because this is the type of business that Arsenal need to be looking at. This is the type of business that Arsenal need to do better. It's about using those young players that aren't going to get much time, that aren't ultimately going to get into the Arsenal first team. And instead of pumping minutes into someone that's not actually going to make it, like Eddie Nketiah, we need to be looking to make more financial benefits for ourselves. Now, this is a chance for Arsenal to turn things around. And we actually have got, interestingly, Gay spent last season on loan at Swansea during their push for a playoff place and was one of their best players, hence the move to Crystal Palace under Patrick Vieira, where he's going to play plenty of football, we assume. Now, Arsenal have a player on loan in the Championship this season. And as I reported to you guys yesterday that we are going to be covering Arsenal's loan signings in the form of William Saliba, I'm very happy to announce that we're also going to be covering Daniel Ballard, who's going to be spending time on loan at Millwall. He's already a Northern Ireland international, and thanks to Alex Grace, he's going to provide us with monthly updates on how Daniel Ballard is getting on in our report section of the Tactical Breakdown show. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel to get that content throughout the season. We'll be providing monthly updates on all of our loanees. I'm also looking to try and get some insight on our youth setup as well. So it's all hands on deck for next season to try and get you as much content as feasibly possible in lots of different areas, so you have a reason to come back to the channel throughout the season beyond just the transfer window. Let's move on to the main bits of transfer news, though, this morning. We start off with Granit Xhaka. According to Corriere dello Sport in Italy, once again, it's like a you know those desk ornaments that you have, like the 5 balls, and you swing one, it smashes against one, brings up the other, and it just keeps going back and forwards. This feels like that because it's continuously, we're getting closer to the transfer. Another report comes out, we're getting further away. Another report, we're getting closer. And that's how this feels right now, because Corriere dello Sport have poured cold water all over some of the reports that came out a couple of days ago to say that Arsenal and Roma have agreed a fee. Apparently, they are still far apart in their valuation. It's effectively a case now where we are absolutely stuck in a complete loop, as Michael says there. Like, absolute loop we seem to be stuck in around Granit Xhaka. What I might do is I might take a break from Granit Xhaka news until we actually have some confirmation from one of our main sources, unless it's a big breaking story, because this is ridiculous how much back and forth we're seeing about this deal. Let's just wait until it's kind of really confirmed by one of our main sources, and then we'll report it, because I'm getting sick and tired of reporting on Granit Xhaka going back and forth about the same situation from different Italian sources. Anyway, moving on to our next story, and we focus on Reiss Nelson. A couple of days ago, James Benge reported that Brighton, Brentford and Crystal Palace are all interested in taking our wide man, Reiss Nelson, away from the Emirates and bringing them into the club. Now, as of yesterday morning, Andy Naylor, Brighton correspondent of The Athletic, who of course joined us on the show to talk about Ben White, he poured cold water himself all over the idea of Reiss Nelson coming to Brighton. He said that Brighton are not interested, was his words, contradicting the report made by James Benge. So some conflicting reports about where Nelson could end up. And it does seem to be that The Athletic claiming that Brighton will not be one of those destinations, which leaves the door open for Brentford and for Crystal Palace should they also turn out to be true. Moving on to our next story, we go to Joe Willock. Now, Steve Bruce has been talking about Joe Willock, and he says, as I've said, it's really Arsenal's decision. And until Arsenal make a decision, a bit like all the big clubs, they have a look over pre-season. We'll keep monitoring and badgering away. Very Steve Bruce thing to say. You can imagine Steve Bruce badgering, can't you? It's something he would do. We'd love to do something, but it's still Arsenal's call. So there is no progression in this situation at the moment. We obviously saw some reports about Arsenal and Newcastle getting closer to a possible loan agreement. That doesn't seem to be the case based upon what Steve Bruce is saying there. They're still very much waiting to see what he's going to do. If he ends up going on the Florida preseason tour, that's a big indication that still nothing is yet agreed, like we've seen so far with Bellerin and Kolasinac over in the Scottish tour, that still nothing has been agreed with them. And that tour is going to tell us a lot more about what is actually going on behind the scenes with Joe Willock and with Arsenal and Newcastle. So we'll have to wait and see a little bit more on that one. Going on to Martin Odegaard. Now, this is a story of the possible ins that we might see this summer. Real Madrid, as we know, are going to have to face the prospect of removing plenty of talent from their squad to try and lower their wage bill and bring in some extra money. One of the players that has been associated with Arsenal has been Martin Odegaard. However, there has been a number of reports coming out from both Spain and England about Arsenal's interest and about Real Madrid's adamant to really kind of keep him at the club. And it does seem to be that Real Madrid's side of things is stronger and that they are very much willing to try and keep him and put him into the team for next season. Carlo Ancelotti likes him a lot. He was obviously signed when Carlo Ancelotti was the manager all the way back, however many years ago it was now, back in like 2013, something like that. So he obviously is very much a player that Ancelotti likes, wants to use, and he isn't particularly on loads of wages, which means that he wouldn't be a huge kind of cut off their wage bill. So I would expect him to stay. Arsenal seem to be still interested, but not one that Arsenal are going to move on anytime soon. Max Aarons, a player that we've not talked about in a long time. And to be honest, only really comes up in our reports today because of interest from elsewhere, and specifically Atletico Madrid are interested in taking Max Aarons. Now, Manchester United are looking at Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid, and the Spanish side apparently see Max Aarons as a possible target to bring in as a replacement. Now, the Mirror are saying that Arsenal are still interested in Max Aarons and that they will be in a race with Atletico Madrid to then sign the right back. And it pretty much comes down to who sells their right back first. Will Arsenal move on Hector Bellerin? Will Atletico Madrid move on Kieran Trippier? Whatever the case, it does seem that Max Aarons is one of those possible replacements for both teams. And should they move on their current right backs, they will be in a bit of a competition to sign the Norwich City right back. There is also credited interest from Barcelona as well, and Bayern Munich too. So plenty out there. Barcelona doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't know why that was a link there, but it is. So Barcelona makes absolutely zero sense to link because, of course, they've already got Roberto Emerson and Sergino Dest. So I don't know why they're being for a right back still. But, I think that's lingering interest. They did have 2 bids rejected back in January. So, Moving forwards to Clement Lenglet, the French defender, a Barcelona player, and of course on the list of players that Barcelona maybe wanted to move on. And so therefore it is natural to see Spanish outlet Sports linking him with a move to Arsenal. I wouldn't pay any attention to this deal if I was you. I think it makes complete sense to link him to Arsenal, despite the fact that Arsenal are looking like they're going to complete a deal for Ben White at the moment. I just think this is one of those silly links that you see because it makes a little bit of sense to link them to Arsenal because Arsenal are looking at players. But no, would not buy into this one whatsoever. Would I take him? I think he's a really exciting young centre-back still. Got a lot of potential. He hasn't necessarily made a huge step up since leaving Sevilla for Barcelona, but he is still a very, very good centre-back that I like a lot. But I wouldn't think that he's coming to Arsenal this window. I think if he is going to go anywhere, he'll go somewhere else. Last story of the day, and we do, in fact, have a story for you about a player that I know a lot of you have been waiting for some information from for a long, long time, and that is Yves Bissouma. Now, according to The Athletic, and they wrote, Andy Naylor wrote a brilliant article yesterday about kind of the Brighton situation, about the players that they're looking to bring in, the likes of Marc Cucurella, Nathaniel Phillips, etc. And in that article revealed that the price expectation for Yves Bissouma, should he leave, amasses to an amount of £40 million. Not the 30 to 40 million pounds we were talking about, but a solid £40 million fee is what he expects Brighton to ask for the Malian midfielder, which is a little bit higher than I thought that they would be going for. But Brighton know how to play hardball with their price tags, and we've already seen that for Ben White. So according to The Athletic, Yves Bissouma will go for a figure, should he leave, of £40 million. So there you go. And thank you all so much to them for telling us that, because it's a ridiculous amount. Anyway, let's finish off the news there and go into the chat box for you guys to have some questions to be asked. If you do indeed have something that you would like to ask the question for, and we'll try and get an answer for you, then please put it into the chat box. Let's go for Drizzy says, could we haggle that down? Seems like not many other people are in for him. The article does credit Liverpool and Manchester City with interest in the player as well, so there is interest from elsewhere. I doubt, though, that you'd be able to negotiate that price down at all, to be honest. Mike says, Bissouma is quality and would take us forward. Fung says, maybe Bissouma instead of Locatelli. Paddy says, Tom, do you think that we'll get a big deal on the last day of the window? It's impossible to say right now, Paddy, until we see how much business we're going to get done throughout the early stages of the window. But it would be very Arsenal to then go out and get some deals done on the final days of the window. Let's see what else you guys, and let's scroll up the chat box and see what some of you guys have said earlier on in the window. Drizzy saying, this one makes me upset that the story was even put here. See, we don't discriminate about stories. We'll tell you the stories, and we'll tell you which ones we think are a load of BS and the ones that we think are true. That's what the important thing is, Drizzy, just in case you've seen a story come out for a certain outlet, and we can then tell you whether or not it's true or not, rather than just going, oh, we might be interested in this guy and maybe we should be talking about it. No, I'll just say, look, we've been linked with Lenglet from Sport and it's a load of rubbish. It's pretty much that. Alan says, Bissouma for 40 million, no. For 30 million, yes. Ronald says, should we sell Bellerin and one of Cedric or Chambers? I think we should be looking to sell two. I agree with you, because we should be bringing one in. I think we should sell Bellerin and Cedric personally, and then look to bring in, say, a Max Aarons with Callum Chambers as the backup option. I think that would be absolutely fine for us. Michael says, our Arsenal on the table, question mark. Well, reports from Le 10 Sport in France saying that Arsenal have completely taken their interest away from Houssem Aouar. It is a questionable French outlet and French source, but you know, I said before I'd be surprised and shocked if Arsenal ever ended up going and getting Houssem Aouar. So I'm not particularly sure that that's going to happen. Arun says, Tom, one of the big issues which seems to be said is that Bissouma isn't a deep line playmaker. He isn't. If we don't get Locatelli, who would be the perfect alternative? I think Ruben Neves falls into that category very well. I think Toyin Koopmeiners is another one that would fall into that category quite well too. But no, Bissouma is not a deep line playmaker, that's for sure. He is your number 6. He is a defensive midfielder. Whereas your Toyin Koopmeiners, your Ruben Neves, they're your number 8s that are going to be pulling the strings like Granit Xhaka would do, but do it in different ways and different styles. And I like both of those options. And I think they're the players that Arsenal are certainly prioritising after selling Granit Xhaka and then going for, say, an out-and-out defensive midfielder. Wesley says, if Locatelli prefers Juve over... Let's not spam the chat, please, people. Wesley says, if Locatelli prefers Juve over Arsenal, it's only logical to assume that Aarons would prefer Arsenal over Atletico. I mean, logic doesn't really go hand in hand with football, quite often, Wes, unfortunately. So there you go. Thanks, Vuk. Much appreciated. Lokonga announcement today, possibly. I expect it to come very soon. He has been under for a while, quarantine. There's even been pictures leaking with him in a kit. So it should be happening very soon. So we maybe will see that. There will be no announcement video from me, though, unfortunately. But you can expect to see Lokonga in an Arsenal shirt very soon, I am sure. Windows says, would you take a Guimaraes or Kakare instead of Aouar? 100%. I'd pick either of those two over Houssem Aouar. Both of them are better for us positionally. Both of them have got better attitudes and better commitment to the team. I would 100% take either of Guimaraes or Kakare over Aouar in a heartbeat. Let's scroll up a little bit more. Shiam says, do you think Arteta will play a midfield of Partey, Aouar and Maddison if bought? Doesn't it look more attacking? Playing Partey, Aouar and Maddison is not a balanced formation at all. You haven't got anywhere near enough defensive capabilities in that team. Partey is not a number 6. He should be playing as a number 8 and playing the box-to-box midfield position. I think if you're going to partner him with someone, it needs to be someone that has got enough defensive capabilities. I think that Ruben Neves is a very good tackler, reader and recoverer of the ball, but Aouar is not good enough in a defensive sense to partner Partey in a 4-2-3-1, that's for sure. And Partey shouldn't be used as the out-and-out defensive midfielder for me, personally. Seal says, Coop Miners tactical breakdown plan. I was planning on doing one. Obviously, I'm going on holiday now, so I'm not going to be doing one this week unless it's, absolutely vital. But the links have gone very quiet. So until we see some big links with the player, you probably won't see one from me this week or in the future until those links really increase. So as I say before, I'm not going to do them just for the sake of it. I'm only doing them when we actually get properly linked to the player by, a legit source. So we'll wait and see. Arun says, Tom, who would be your realistic attacking midfielder now that we would sign at the end of the window? Of all the players that we've been linked to, realistically, it depends how much money we have to spend. It's a really difficult question to answer because we don't know how much money is going to be available to us. Will it be 50 million? Will it be 80 million? Will it be 30 million? Will it be 20 million? We don't know. So there are a number of players out there that are available. You've got your Sabitzers, your Kamadas, your players like James Maddison if you're going to spend a hell of a lot more money. So there are players out there that you could go and get, Danny Olmo, etc. So watch the space, but I can't give you a realistic name because we don't know how much money we're going to have to spend on that specific position. Wow says, what do you think of Mukiele? Fantastic right back. Someone I think that would be a great addition to the team. Add physicality, add that strength and defensive discipline at the same time. Wouldn't give you necessarily loads going forwards, but certainly would give you a lot defensively from the right back position. Sarvik says, this strengthening of the centre midfield position seems to be a signal that Arteta is planning to stick to the 4 at the back. It does, and I don't think that we are going to be switching to a back 3. If we were, I think we probably would have kept hold of Saliba. Saliba also leaving tells me that we feel that we've got enough at centre back to hold that back 4 position. So I agree. I think it is going to be a back 4, which is absolutely fine. Samron says, is the 100 million transfer market spree reported true? No, because I don't think it is anyway. And thanks, by the way. I don't think it is because in that report was words about Arsenal signing Aouar, which I don't think are true. So no. And whenever you see kind of like the words spending spree or war chest, these types of words, it usually indicates to you that that report is not coming from the most legit kind of sources that are going to throw out, because the club wouldn't tell you money. The club are never going to say how much money they've got to spend because it would weaken their negotiating position. So it's important that you don't read too much into those. Ali says, Bissouma is a talent, but he isn't the only route to success. I think fans should differentiate between I like a player and would like to see him and he is a must-have. And this is something, Ali, that we've talked about before. I feel that there was a real kind of obsession around Yves Bissouma, and if we didn't get him, it would be an absolute failure to the window. I don't think that's the case. Bissouma's wanted Arsenal fans have wanted Bissouma, and those two things kind of just fall in line with one another. So I don't think that you should be pining over Bissouma when there are a lot of other good options out there in the market. Thanks, Wilson. Thanks, Paddy. Much appreciated. Jez says, what do you think of the club's hesitation on Bissouma? I think it's because they want someone to be an out-and-out replacement for Granit Xhaka. I think they want someone that's a good passer of the ball, that can progress the ball, that can attack the box when needed and do that more efficiently than Granit Xhaka. So that's why you're seeing links to Ruben Neves and to Toyin Koopmeiners. I think those types of players fit what Arteta wants to replace Granit Xhaka with more so than, say, an Yves Bissouma, who could, with more specialisation, be covered in that position by, say, Lokonga coming in, who's not yet specialised between a 6 or an 8. So that's something that the club will specialise and work on him in those different positions. Saka is a hero. He is indeed. Says if we get a double sweep for Aouar and Maddison, it will prove our buying power and show we are back for the top 4. I mean, if we were to go out and spend a lot of money this window on a lot of good players, then yeah, it shows the ambition of the team, you would hope. But it's no guarantee of top 4, especially with how good the teams are in the Premier League. So you shouldn't be expecting Arsenal to be a top 4 at the end of the season. You should be expecting them, hopefully, or you should never expect anything. You should be hoping that they challenge for that top 4 spot, but not expecting them to make it, because of the level of competition in the league this season is crazy good. Wes says, do you agree that if we won't go for a formation switch to a 4-3-3, Neves is a better fit than Bissouma? I think that Neves can play either alongside Partey or in a 4-3-3. So it's either way it works for Neves. It's not about being a better fit than Bissouma of why I prefer him. The way I'm predicting Arteta to move for a player that's more akin to Granit Xhaka as a replacement for him. And I don't think Bissouma is that. That's why I don't think we're pushing as hard for the Malian midfielder. Trent says, Xhaka is not yet sold. Maybe that makes Arsenal slow progress finding the replacements. You're absolutely right. As soon as we sell Xhaka, as soon as we sell Bellerin, you'll see more links to centre midfielders and to right backs. I have absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. Karthik says, Tom, would you take Jordan Henderson? Apparently he's available. Not for me. Wrong age profile. I think we should be looking at different players, and I think he would cost a lot of money for his age. Whilst I do rate him and I do like him, I just think it's the wrong age profile for Arsenal. Ben P says, I got Arsenal the league with Aouar as my DM and Maddison at Cam. That's how it works in real life, right, Tom? Yes, a football manager in FIFA is exactly how football works, always. Ronald says, since Aouar and Sabitzer are so low price, can we get 2 more centre mids with Sambi, like Neves and one of the others? I think Arsenal should be targeting 2 central midfielders on top of Lokonga and an attacking midfielder if they really want to have a strong squad with the depth provided to challenge for that top 4. Absolutely 100%. Mohit says, Tom, do you think this slow process of buying players is going to affect our results in the first 5 games? The players need time to gel as a team. I think it would be naive, Mohit, to say that it wouldn't have an effect if you were going to say, bring someone in 2-3 weeks ahead of the first game of the season, expect them to integrate perfectly. But that is the same for any player. Like, you can bring a player at any time during the window. Until they've had a few games under their belt, it is going to take them time to transition. So I wouldn't read loads into it, but I also wouldn't be naive to say it's going to have no effect whatsoever. Vishal says, what do you think of a midfield partnership of Partey and Willock? I'd rather play Partey as an 8, but we are yet to have a quality alternative in that position. I would, Vishal, play them together, but only if you played a number 6 behind those 2. I wouldn't play them together in a 4-2-3-1. I think it would mean that Partey, again, is wasted in what he can do transitioning the ball. Patrick says, I heard of Grealish might stay at Villa. Could that change Smith Rowe's mind? I don't think Smith Rowe's going anywhere else, has thought about going anywhere else, Patrick. So I don't think you need to worry about Smith Rowe whatsoever. Mano says, what are my thoughts on the Abraham links? We did do an entire show dedicated to this a few days ago, if you want to check out my lengthened thoughts. But they are very much, if Lacazette goes, it wouldn't be all that bad of a replacement. But it would cost a lot of money. And I think people need to get over the fact he's a Chelsea player. I think that's something that's lent on way too hard by a lot of people. It's very different to the whole Lulian Czech situation. It's very different to that. So I'm more open to it, but I think there are other options out there that might be smarter than Tammy Abraham. But who knows? We'll wait and see. Paddy says, Tom, do you think we should go for a cup this season? Absolutely. We're not in Europe, and I think we should be using the cup competitions to give us a bit of a springboard, extra competitiveness. You can get that League Cup in early. It's a really good kind of motivator for the rest of the season, knowing you've got a title under your belt already. So, yeah, 100% we should be going for those cup competitions. Timothy says, hi, Tom. Lots of love from Kenya. Which attacking trio do you think would be most devastating this season and has the best balance? Alba, Balogun, Pepe, Saka, Martinelli, Laka, and Nketiah. I think personally the best front three for balance is Saka, Lacazette, and Pepe, personally, and then Smith Rowe playing as a number 10 behind. The thing about Aubameyang is, whilst he should be a good finisher, which he's showing not to be at the moment, I don't think he's got the link-up play that you need to play alongside someone like Pepe and Saka. I mean, you look at how Saka combined with, unfortunately, Harry Kane with England, and he needs that kind of link-up play, and I don't think that Aubameyang can provide that. So, yeah. I think this is probably where we're going to end things. I do need to start heading off and getting ready to go on holiday. So I'm going to enjoy that. I will be still doing the show every single day at 8 a.m. though. So make sure you tune in. But there probably won't be any other shows beyond that unless I literally have a spare hour somewhere, which is doubtful. But it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys again for the 76th show. Is it 77th show? Something ridiculous. But really appreciate your support as always, guys. Thank you ever so much for helping us hit 25,000 subscribers. Thank you for all the kind comments in the chat box today and, of course, in the comment sections too. If you could drop a like on the video, I would really appreciate it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. See you tomorrow morning, guys. Have a fantastic day and week, and see you soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.